Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efeni, the great Malabite.
Good morning, Ruben.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Kayode Akintemi.
Good morning.
Yes, we start the review with this day. Nigeria's newspaper of record, the lead story. Tinubu, police must investigate Adamawa Guber Rerun giving Attendant controversy. Comments polls peaceful atmosphere. Congratulates Fintiri Idris. Military saved democracy, says governor-elect. Blames APC. Receives certificate of return. Lai Mohammed. Why Buhari didn't interfere in poll crisis. PDP victory is triumph of democracy. Elumelu reiterates. Now, this is the other Elumelu, the politician, the minority leader in the House of Representatives. Now, of course, in the front page of this day, we can also see the photograph there. Iwayan becomes the new Ohaneze president. Ohaneze Ndigbo, of course, following the death of Professor George Obiozor, the then president of Ohaneze Ndigbo. Yes, Chief Emmanuel Iwayan, a man who packs a lot of experience in politics, in business, a new role to lead the Igbo nation. And we believe he will do a good job of that assignment. Now, the lead story, of course, President-elect Tinubu calling for an investigation into the Adamawa saga, gubernatorial saga. Well, of course, like Ayo, you rightly mentioned, the investigation should not just be that of Adamawa because there were electoral malfeasance elsewhere in the course of this general election. And I've often said on this program that I hope the next president will also find the courage to admit that there were malfeasance in the general election so that the needful can be done, just like Umaru Yar'Adua did when he became president, which gave rise to the Uwais panel that came up with a number of recommendations for the advancement of the electoral process. And we have seen that over time, in the course of this general election, clearly we need further amendments to the extant laws to deal with some of the shortcomings noticed in the course of this general election. As for those looking for the president-elect, where is the president-elect? I'm not, Robert, I'm not among those people, because a presidential spokesman once told us in this country that the president can govern from anywhere in the world. So I'm not looking for the president-elect. I know on May 29, all things being equal, he will show up. He will show up. But if he shows up before then, best.
And you agree with state property.
No, there's no problem. But
and that the Nigerian people have the right to know.
To know. I said I'm not one of those looking
because
for
already the state will have deployed security to him. He will be receiving security briefing.
And they are working from wherever they are.
The only thing is that he cannot take decisions.
Yes.
So we have a right to see him. He cannot be an unidentifiable flying object.
He will be available on May 29th. That you can be sure of.
No, we need to see him before that. He needs to go into seclusion so that he's prepared.
At this point, we need to subscribe to his newsletter because we keep getting statements. So,
but I think those who are asking for the president-elect, they have a point also.
National security is involved.
We need to know his whereabouts. Not
Don't
that
worry, he will show up. Maybe Wike will invite him to Rivers
to commission.
Before he leaves office.
Yes. Well, other newspapers are reporting the story. The Vanguard newspaper, Tinubu Fintiri seek police inquest into Adamawa poll. Now, the Guardian newspaper, 40 days to go. FEC, the Federal Executive Council, approves over 100 billion naira contracts. Well, the way this story is being reported, as if the Federal Executive Council is doing something unusual. All the projects they are approving now are part of the budget. So I'm not sure they just need to throw up their hands because they'll be leaving office in a few days' time. So the government is of President Muhammadu Buhari remains in power till midnight of May 28th, right? Yes. And they can continue, of course, dealing with issues of state infrastructure that have been earmarked in the budget, 2023 budget. Of course, they will have to deal with until the last day in office. So I don't think there's really any big issue in this. But again, it's a story and it's been reported. And so we have reviewed it. Now, if we look at the Daily Trust newspaper, high fertilizer prices threaten wet season farming. 50 kg costs 30,000 naira or more. High costs may cause food inflation. We already have food inflation. Federal government, states must act now, stakeholders are saying. Now, the Nation newspaper, why Buhari didn't intervene in Adamawa poll crisis by government. Tinubu seeks a probe of debacle. Now, NSCDC commandant summoned. Now, as for the prosecution of that wreck, Udu Ari, yes. We must also draw the attention of INEC. INEC has the power to prosecute. They should not shy away from that responsibility and say, oh, we are writing to the police. No.
To the appointing authority.
No, they have written to the appointing authority. They also said they are writing to the police. And as at yesterday, the police high command stated that they have not received any communication from INEC. But we are also reminding INEC. INEC has the power to prosecute, going by the extant law. So this, if there is one occasion they should use it, I think this should be one of them. After all, they did in Akwa Ibom, Mike Igini did not wait for the police before he pursued to a logical conclusion the prosecution of that professor who was eventually jailed for altering election figures. Now, to matters of the stomach, Reuben, the Punch newspaper reported insecurity, local rice price jumps by 200%. Rice prices soared from 173 naira per kilogram to 521 naira per kilogram under Buhari, despite government intervention. This according to the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics report. Rice farmers, producers, experts blame rising inflation, insecurity, others for rice woes. Now, the impact of that, and of course, is that as Business Day is reporting, Reuben, jollof rice cost soars to 7-year high under Buhari, according to the new jollof index report. It will cost the average worker 30.6% of his salary, that is if you are receiving the minimum wage, to prepare a pot of jollof rice for 5, a family of 5. So, Reuben, jollof, I hope somebody will not come and tell us tomorrow that jollof rice is not for the poor. No.
Jollof and pepper soup.
Yes, you know, but
yes,
let me just drop.
The likes of Reuben that can
Yes, let me just
let
let me just look at the international newspapers quickly, and I'll come over to you. The Times of London: judges lose power to block migrant flight. Yes, Rishi Sunak seemed to have caved in to the right-wing conservatives who had threatened to rebel over the legislation to tackle small boat crossing the channel. And as such, the government has agreed to amend the illegal migration bill to allow ministers to ignore interim injunctions from European Court of Human Rights that attempt to stop deportation flight. Of course, remember that Rwandan flight, that arrangement to send asylum seekers to somewhere in Africa, specifically Rwanda, for the processing of their documents. Reuben, Ayo, and Kayode.
Okay, earlier on, before you joined us, when Rochus was here, I talked about the global rice deficit. That's how they define it. As a result of severe weather conditions, as a result of the crisis in Ukraine, as a result of crisis of production of rice in Thailand, India, and China, particularly also, where they have severe weather conditions. And that has increased an ounce of rice to about 24 cents. And the fear is that it could even get worse. In fact, part of the argument also is that we should prepare for rice problems. Okay, we also talked about sugar, how sugar is going to be a problem. But rice in Nigeria is a very interesting development, as reported, as you have quoted. Because Nigeria, in fact, probably anticipated under President Buhari what the crisis is likely to be. So the government took decisions to put rice importation on the import restriction list, to encourage local production of paddy rice, to even close the border at some point against rice imports or smuggling into Nigeria. Now, what the Rice Manufacturers Association of Nigeria have told us is that there is increased production, truly, but there are so many other factors that have increased price in Nigeria. 1, inflation. 2, infrastructural problems. 3, insecurity. 4, the crisis with the Naira. So you then see that the Anchor Borrowers Program, which was advertised by the CBN, showing us about 1 million, bags of paddy rice, has not really translated into a positive effect for the Nigerian people. So we find ourselves in a situation now with inflation over 22%, 22.04%, whereby the average Nigerian cannot eat rice. Now, the kind of rice I'm talking about is local rice, which you are told over the last 7 years has increased by 500%. If you are talking about the kind of rice that I prefer to eat, it's not local rice. The one that I like to eat, a bag of rice now, is about 88,000 naira. This is the same bag of rice that, in 2015, we used to buy for 15,000 naira. Now, it's 88,000 naira. No, that's the one I eat. Since you don't know it, I don't need to give you information. But there are different types of rice in the market. Yes. The bag of rice that I like to eat, the cost of a bag of rice now is 88,000 naira. Well, how many are we going to survive? So you are right. Jollof rice very soon may become something that is untouchable.
It is already.
And that is the reality that we face. The other issue, a smaller issue that I would like to talk about, is the report that another building collapsed in Abuja. I think yesterday. 6 people were injured, 2 died, 4 are still in hospital as we speak. Buildings continue to collapse in this country. What makes this one in Abuja unique is the fact that it was not even the building under construction that collapsed. It was the neighboring building that the wall fell on artisans working in the new building under construction. So, artisans are at risk, builders are at risk, because nobody follows the building code, nobody follows approvals. You are working in building A, you think you are doing the right thing. The wall in building B, adjoining building, falls on you and kills you. So whether it is rice or sugar or building, we seem to be in very serious trouble. Would the next administration be able to restore hope, as the president-elect promises us?
Well, I can't get over the fact that Dr. Bati eats 88,000 naira bag of rice in this Nigerian economy, sir.
You don't know that there are different types of rice.
You say that we're in the...
It's the bag, it's the bag.
Dr. Bati, I cannot claim massive again.
But you don't know that he's a big man.
No, because he keeps saying that he's part of the struggle.
Kind of mood of rice with
I
you.
totally agree, but he keeps saying that he's part of the struggle. So today he has just ended that claim.
No, he's part of the struggle.
Let me quickly chip in. Somebody online now just said something quite funny. I'm worried whether I should say, but I'll say it. The person said the likes of Dr. Abati can afford 88,000 naira back, but the rest of us will have to do with agbado and cassava.
Well, okay, so to the foreign newspapers, Mr. Feni, we talked about that, and it's great to see that, one of the things we must respect the United Kingdom for is respect for the rule of law, and in terms of respect for the rights of human rights. Very important. It had been the move by Rishi Sunak in terms of on his policy on migration had been heavily kicked against in the spirit of unfairness, the signing to the United Nations Convention on Refugees and Asylum Seekers. And so to find that now they've said that judges do not have the right to remove is quite important and instructive. I think even beyond the United Kingdom is for other nations as well, in terms of how we not only treat our citizens, but how we treat citizens who come to our nation to seek refuge. And in speaking about that, we must also talk about the plight of even our citizens who become internally displaced, because we talk about the welfare of our own internally displaced people who are refugees in their own nation. And if another country can pay such attention to refugees from other nations, then it should give us a second think as to how we ensure the rights and welfare of internally displaced people. I know that a lot of work has gone on. Also, side by side, that is a lot of controversy along those lines as well. And then in terms of this 40-day, this front page on 40 days to go, FEC approving over 100 billion naira contracts. You're right in terms of the fact that there's nothing wrong with that. They're still in government until the 29th of May. So, and government should be a continuum, in terms of projects. However, the details of the story talks about a disregard, talking about the rule of law for a court ruling on one of the properties by the customs that they have said that they've released money to restructure. I don't want to use the word structure, but the words for building, to refurbish, that's the word. And a lot of money has been allocated to that. They're still going ahead with it, despite the fact that there's a court ruling against that. And this is something that is just a flagrant disregard for the rule of law, and it's something that should be looked into. And in terms of just probing the amount of money that have been allocated to the different contracts.
Okay. It looks like we don't have enough time, so we'll just go ahead. But the one I wanted to talk about is still this issue of 40 days to go, but we can't do that now. So I guess we'll just have to say thank you very much, Emmanuel Ifeni, for your contribution. There's loads of stories, and everybody should go through their papers, whether online or on the papers.